Before you record a single conversation with Plaud, there's one question that actually matters more than any feature: where does your data go, and who can see it? I went through Plaud's official security documentation line by line. Here's the honest answer. Subscribe. I'm building a complete AI tools library so you don't have to dig through this yourself. First, where does your data actually go? According to Plaud's own FAQ, Plaud has data centers in 4 regions. US AWS West, EU AWS in Frankfurt, Japan AWS, and Singapore AWS. If you're outside these regions, your data is processed in the nearest available region. Here's an important detail most people miss: for the AI models Plaud uses, including GPT, Claude, and Gemini, users in Europe get EU-hosted enterprise-grade subprocessors. Everyone else relies on US-hosted LLMs. If data residency matters for your work, say you're in a regulated industry, this is worth knowing. Also important: your audio and transcription data is not stored in the cloud unless you specifically enable Cloud Sync. If Cloud Sync is off, everything is deleted from the cloud once it's transferred back to your phone. Second big question: is your data used to train AI models? Plaud's direct answer: no, not by default. You would have to manually opt in through settings for that to happen. On top of that, Plaud states that all its subprocessors use enterprise APIs with a zero data retention policy. Meaning the AI companies providing the underlying models do not store or reuse your data for training. This is contractually enforced through data processing agreements with every subprocessor. Third, how is your data actually encrypted? Plaud uses 2 layers. In transit, meaning while data is moving between your device and their servers, it's encrypted using HTTPS and TLS 1.2 or higher. At rest, meaning while it's stored, it uses AES 256 encryption. That's the same standard used by banks and government agencies. Plaud also states all the large language models they use have zero training and zero data retention policies, enforced through contracts. Here's a practical question: what happens if you actually lose your Plaud device? According to their FAQ, recordings are deleted from the device itself once they're transferred to your phone through the Plaud app. And only the Plaud account that the device is bound to can access and decrypt any data on it. So if you lose your device, nobody but your own account has access. You can also remotely unbind the device through Plaud support, which deletes the data from the lost device entirely. A question that comes up a lot: does Plaud store your voice biometrics? By default, you manually label speakers yourself for each recording, and Plaud doesn't recognize the same speaker across different recordings automatically. However, there is an auto speaker labeling feature you can enable, which uses a similarity search mechanism, not a biometric profile, to match speakers. Plaud explicitly states no personally identifiable information can be gathered from these speaker labels. On data retention, Plaud keeps your data only as long as necessary to provide the service, tied to your active account. When you deactivate your account, Plaud takes steps to delete or anonymize your data according to applicable law. Plaud also publishes its compliance reports directly. GDPR, HIPAA, SOC 2, EN 18031, ISO 27001, and ISO 27701 are all listed with downloadable documentation on their Trust page. Last question: can Plaud employees actually look at your conversations? According to their FAQ, Plaud personnel do not routinely access user data. Access only happens in 3 specific scenarios. When you explicitly request technical support requiring investigation of your data, when needed to diagnose a system error or security incident, or when required by law or a valid legal process. Any access like this is restricted to authorized personnel, with role-based access controls, logging, and an internal approval process, and only from secured production environments. Final honest verdict: Plaud's documented security practices are genuinely thorough. AES 256 encryption, TLS in transit, no training by default, regional data residency, and a clear policy on what happens if you lose your device. For most freelancers and remote workers, this level of security is more than sufficient. If you work in healthcare, law, or another regulated industry, the HIPAA and GDPR compliance documentation gives you something concrete to show clients or compliance teams. One honest caveat: these are Plaud's own published policies. I can't independently audit their infrastructure, and neither can you. But having clear, detailed, publicly available documentation like this is itself a strong trust signal compared to companies that say nothing at all. If this gave you the clarity you needed, hit like. It really helps this channel grow. Subscribe for the next video in this Plaud series, and I'll see you in the next one.